Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Today we're going to learn how to play Still Counting by Volbeat. So this one's got a lot of really cool guitar stuff in it. Some really challenging riffs. So really fun to play. And a really cool guitar solo at the end that's not actually pretty easy to play, especially for as Volbeat solos go. So this is it's going to be a fun one. So let's start out here. We got to talk about the tuning first. We are tuned down a whole step. So every string on a guitar, if you're in standard tuning, you need to tune every string down a whole step. Let me call those notes out, but they're also going to be in the description. So you're going to take your low E string and tune it down to a D. Then your A string and tune it down to a G. Then your D string and tune it down to a C. The G string gets tuned down to an F. The B string down to an A. And the high E string down to a D. All right, so those notes will be written in the description as well, so in case I want a little bit fast for you. All right, so as soon as you get in that tuning, all the fingerings work the same, power chords, everything the same, except everything sounds a lot lower and sounds a lot heavier. All right, so let's start here. I'm going to call everything out just like it's a standard tuning, though, so don't worry about it like this is an E minor chord. All right, so we're going to start here with the bar chord at the 7th fret there. So I'm sure you guys know this. If you're attempting this song, you probably know how to play this chord. But E minor chord, bar at the 7th, 8th on the B, 9 on the G, and the D. So we have this rhythm. So you hit it muted, so don't have the pressure on the strings. Then you hit it once with a downstroke, actually holding the chord, and then muted with a down up, and then another hit. So we have this. All right, so that's a lot of that comes from the left hand muting. All right, so he does that initially, that rhythm on all these chords. So it's that E minor chord into a G major chord. That's the 10th fret there on the A string, then the 12th across the B, G, and the D. Then take it over to a C major bar chord, full bar at the 8th fret, 9 on the G, 10 on the D, and the A. All right, so you do the rhythm there, and then shift back 1 fret to the B. Now pick up your middle finger, so now we have a B minor chord. So all together we have this. All right, now as the vocals come in, he doesn't do as many muted strokes. A lot of times he just goes straight through with a. So you can do that as well, especially when the vocals come in. All right, so from there, we go into the heavy section. So let me play through these opening heavy riffs. There's 3 riffs, really kind of, and then there's a transition riff or whatever. So we'll just get into these really kind of double time fast riffs real quick. So something like this. All right, so those things are probably the most challenging part of the song, just from because of the speed that they're playing there. So let's start out here with the first of those 3 riffs. When the distortion gets kicked in here, what we do right there, we do a quick little. So it's a quick little down, up, down, heavily palm muted, by the way, on the low E string. Then just 8th notes there with downstrokes. Then you do that again, and one more time. So we have this so far. Then they really take off. They go into the 3rd fret power chord. So you hit that twice, then down to the 1st fret. All right, so the second one of those riffs, I have a little bit more involved in it, and it sounds like this. So it's still kind of similar. We start with the burst to begin with. The burst is down, up this time, and then we go into the eighth notes. But in those eighth notes, you can hear that there's accents. So those accents, whenever he hits that accent, he's hitting the full power chord, not just a low E string. So this. So it's not nice and slow. So after 3 times, then we do this. That's pulling off 3 to 0 on the low E. Then the open string twice, heavily palmated, and then pull off 1 to 0 twice. So that whole second right there. So just repeat that twice. And then we get to the third version of this riff. So they're kind of going through 3 riffs here. Looks like this. All right, so that's kind of the 8th note version of it. Basically the second half of the riff before it. So we're just gonna hitting the always really heavily palming it and then accenting those power chords. So you just gotta feel that rhythm. And then there's just one pull off, 1 to 0 on the low E. All right, then we get to this little transition riff that leads into the verse. It sounds like this. All right, so we're going to start with 2 low E muted notes. Into the power chord there at the 7th fret on the A string. Then you can pick the 7th fret on the A again. Then hammer 7 to 9 on the D. And then you're going to do a hammer 7 to 9, pull off the 7, open D. And then grab the G power chord here at the 3rd fret of the low E string. Hit it again, and then you do 3 mutes. 2 of them are on the 3, and then the open E. So those. Then go over to the 3rd fret there off the A string. Pick it again. Move down to the 2. So there. You'll see that again later in the song. Now during the verse, one guitarist plays the clean chords that we did in the intro, and then the other does this. All right, so that is, you're going to be playing the 7th fret on the A, over to the 9th on the D, back to the 7th, and then up to the 10th fret on the low E. Now, a lot of these, after the second, they're on upbeat, so the timing is a little bit odd. So that's on a downbeat, and then up, 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 up. So after you go back to the 9 on the D, back to the 7, and then back to that G power chord. And the same ending as the transition riff. So, then back. This time you just kind of hang between 7 on the A and 9 on the D. All right, and then we get to the chorus. Now the chorus is pretty simple to play. It looks like this. kind of messed with the rhythm there a little bit at the end. That is not in the original recording. But it looks like this. It's just a simple power chord at the 8th fret on the low E string. Over to the power chord off the 10th fret of the A string. And sometimes I'll use the full major chord there. Then over to the power chord of the 12th fret of the low E. Then down to 7. And that brings you back to the beginning to repeat. Then we go back to that transition riff that we did going into the first verse. The only difference is you don't put the 2 mutes on the low E. Just go straight to that and then back to the same riff. Then we're back to the verse again and then the chorus again. Now in the chorus we're going to play 2 times and then we're going to go into a little bit of a groove riff. It's a pretty cool riff that has a harmony guitar part in it as well. So that part looks like this. That's one of the harmony lines there. Now this happens at, let me get the exact minute second mark for you here. It's at the 2-minute and 46-second mark. All right. So we're just going to be muting on the low E power chord, heavily palm muted, down, 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 down. It's an 8th note, then it's 2 16th notes. All right, now this section happens a couple times, and the harmony part's the same each, well, almost the same each time. Now the bottom low harmony part looks like this. And that's just 5 to 7 on the A string. So you're picking that 7. So I go down, up, down, 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 up. Then move up to 7 and 9, do the same thing. Then 9 and 10. And then 12 and 10. All right, now from there we have a high harmony part that goes with it. So instead of this, the other one does this. Now this first note is not really in the key, but if you really slow the recording down, you can hear that he plays that instead of this, which kind of sounds like it would work better. But they're probably going for this kind of dissonant quality there. So that harmony part is the same picking pattern. It's just 3 to 5 on the D, then 5 to 7, 7 to 9, and then 9 to 10. So that goes with this. Then it's back to the chorus again, and I believe they play the chorus a few more times, like twice as long this time. And then we go back into the groove section again, and back into that same harmony part. Now coming out of that second time you play that harmony part, we have the outro section where the solo happens. Now underneath the solo, just to let you know, that outro solo, we just have this. So that's the same rhythm that we did with that groove riff that happened at the 2-minute and 46-second mark. It's on the same chord, the low E, and then the first fret power chord. And then back to low E. And they just kind of, the end of it, just do slower, just 8th notes on that that F power chord and the low E. All right, so let's look at the guitar solo. It looks like this. All right, so that's the 9th fret on the D, over the 11 on the G a few times. Back to the 9, back to the 11, back to the 9, then move up to the 10th fret and kind of do the same thing. So this so far. Then we have this little line sliding into 14 on the G, then 12, 11, back to the 9 on the D. Start the same figure again. Now from there we do this. Just 9, 10 on the D string twice. Then this. That's a quick little muted 7, 9, 10 on the D. Pick that 10 again, let it ring. Down to 9, 7, 9. All right, so it's a fun one to play as soon as you, especially when you get past the really fast stuff at the very beginning. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.